Welcome back, fight fans. Today we are breaking down an explosive corporate warfare transforming combat sports as a relentless power struggle between Dana White and Eddie Hearn escalates to unprecedented heights. Brul nat den hemd, a rivalry boils over. A newly surfaced video featuring UFC President Dana White and Matchroom Boxing Chairman Eddie Hearn has taken the digital world by storm, leaving sports enthusiasts completely stunned by the sheer hostility of the exchange. The two promotional heavyweights have spent months exchanging passive-aggressive jabs, but this recent development has elevated their personal animosity to an entirely different dimension. The confrontation unfolded following Chris Billam-Smith's triumphant homecoming victory in Bournemouth, which represented Zuffa Boxing's inaugural venture away from their familiar hub at the Meta Apex in Las Vegas. The post-fight atmosphere quickly shifted when reporters questioned White about Hearn's recent actions. The UFC figurehead was visibly agitated, and for good reason. Hearn had recently sent shockwaves through the mixed martial arts community by signing on as the official manager for reigning UFC heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall. Almost immediately, Hearn publicly criticized the UFC's pay structure, boldly declaring on camera that he would actively prevent the British heavyweight from entering the octagon again, unless his financial compensation was substantially increased. This direct challenge caught White's attention fast. During the Zuffa Boxing 7 post-fight press conference, White delivered a scathing, sarcastic retort using one of Matchroom's premier assets, the elite pound-for-pound boxer Jesse "Bam" Rodriguez. Looking out at the media while struggling to suppress a mocking smirk, White fired back, "You release Bam Rodriguez then? Sounds pretty stupid, doesn't it?" Brul nat den hemd. That brief soundbite instantly became a viral sensation, yet White was far from finished. He redirected his verbal assault toward Conor Benn's high-profile departure from Matchroom Boxing, completely unloading on Hearn's character. Eddie Hearn is full of ass. He didn't even pay his best friend Conor Benn. Eddie has been crying for weeks. He didn't even want to pay him, but he wants to pay my guy. Could have paid his best friend, and they could have remained best friends. Eddie's full of a lot of, you know it, we all know it. Brul nat den hemd, Brul no, you know, Anonum, one, you know. The rapid disintegration of their relationship begs an obvious question. How did two high-profile executives transition from amicable industry colleagues to bitter sworn enemies in just a few short months? This conflict did not originate in Bournemouth. The true catalyst occurred the exact moment Dana White decided that professional boxing was no longer exclusive territory for traditional promoters. Brul nat den hemd, a round events Melstamin contains multiple strategic layers. To understand why the Bournemouth press conference resonated so deeply, one must trace the timeline back to the dawn of 2026, when White executed one of the most disruptive maneuvers in modern combat sports history by officially launching Zuffa Boxing. What followed was a slow-motion collision between two fiercely competitive alpha personalities, two rival promotional juggernauts, and two men who genuinely harbor mutual contempt. In addition, historically, the two promoters maintained a highly positive rapport, and Hearn was frequently spotted attending major UFC events as a VIP guest. That mutual respect vanished entirely when White entered the boxing market and began disparaging traditional boxing promoters, explicitly including Hearn in his critiques. While this ongoing public back and forth has provided immense entertainment for fans, industry analysts suggest that White may have inadvertently made a tactical error. By constantly engaging with Hearn, White has significantly elevated the American media profile of his primary competitor. This has left White committing the ultimate sin for an experienced promoter, publicly and frequently acknowledging a rival he has absolutely no power to control. Brul nat den hemd, Brul nat den moon, Prun nepun. Long before the standoff over Aspinall, there was an initial catalyst that drew first blood in this rivalry, Conor Benn. White's aggressive expansion into professional boxing via Zuffa Boxing was significantly bolstered by massive financial backing from Turki Al-Sheikh and his influential Sila organization. White did not enter the boxing market quietly. He emerged swinging from day one, dismissing established promoters who had dedicated decades to building the industry. The remaining goodwill dissolved entirely after Zuffa Boxing's third official event, when White publicly labeled all of his professional rivals as babies. This statement drew a definitive line in the sand, and Hearn chose to cross it. In response, White executed a maneuver that went far beyond mere verbal sparring. He reached directly into Hearn's promotional stable and extracted Conor Benn. The British star's stunning decision to sign a promotional contract with Zuffa Boxing became the ultimate flashpoint for their escalating hostility. Reports revealed that Hearn desperately attempted to contact Ben via telephone before any contracts were finalized, but the fighter chose to ignore the communication entirely, signing a staggering $15 million single-fight agreement. Hearn openly confessed that losing Ben was deeply painful on a personal level. "It did hurt, and I do feel massively betrayed. That's not just a fighter changing promoters. That's a personal betrayal." Brule, Hearn appeared on camera entirely unfiltered, explaining exactly how deeply the betrayal stung him. This rare display of raw emotion from a major sports executive provided immediate ammunition for Dana White, who weaponized Hearn's public sadness at every possible opportunity. To compound the damage, White soon announced that Zuffa Boxing had successfully extended Ben's contract to a comprehensive multi-fight deal. Following the acquisition of Hearn's top British star, White dealt another massive blow by securing a broadcasting partnership with Sky Sports, Hearn's historical media ally. By seizing both the marquee fighter and the iconic broadcaster, White systematically dismantled Hearn's home turf. Also in, the unhinged prospects of a promoter's bout. At a certain point during this intense corporate battle, the public discourse took a bizarre turn when the concept of White and Hearn settling their differences inside an actual boxing ring was introduced. Once the idea entered the public consciousness, neither executive could let it go. White originally floated the concept during a lighthearted interview. Hearn took the challenge entirely literally. White subsequently escalated the situation during a high-profile interview with Piers Morgan, stating he would be fully open to boxing Hearn. When Morgan pushed him for a definitive answer, White responded, "Absolutely done." With that statement broadcast globally, Hearn immediately seized the momentum. He published a video on social media showcasing himself training on a speed bag, directly calling out the UFC boss with a grin. "Dana, I'm coming for you. Brul net den hen, hit Dane, Brul net den hemd." The internet exploded with excitement. Digital artists created mock fight posters, and AI-generated videos of them trading punches in a ring circulated rapidly. A prominent online sports account even published a viral rumor claiming that Hearn and White had officially agreed to a sanctioned bout under the Misfits boxing banner in Las Vegas. While the rumor was entirely fabricated, the widespread public belief demonstrated the incredible cultural energy generated by their feud. Hearn then took the narrative to an entirely new level during interviews with IFL TV and Ariel Helwani, formally accepting the challenge, projecting massive pay-per-view revenue, and predicting a clean knockout victory. Addressing White's previous claim that their matchup would serve as a minor attraction, Hearn stated, "It will go main event on probably Netflix. The only thing that can stop the fight happening is Dana White. So who's the P now? Where's your balls gone? Brul net den hemd, Brul net den hemd, Brul net den end." In reality, neither executive has any genuine intention of stepping into a professional ring, yet neither individual can afford to be the first to back down publicly. Consequently, the volatile media exchange continues, with each video clip becoming progressively more unhinged. Also in a corporate retaliation and legal injunctions, the corporate warfare officially went nuclear when Hearn executed a highly sophisticated countermove that caught the UFC entirely off guard, becoming the manager of Tom Aspinall under the Matchroom Talent Agency. The structural implications of this move are staggering. A prominent boxing promoter has successfully inserted himself as the primary representative for the reigning UFC heavyweight champion. Hearn did not attempt to negotiate Aspinall's grievances quietly behind closed doors. Instead, he utilized every available microphone to criticize the UFC's financial terms, making a direct public offer to White. If the UFC granted Aspinall an immediate release, Hearn would personally guarantee the heavyweight a compensation package worth 3 times his current UFC earnings. Notably, Aspinall has not made a single appearance inside the UFC octagon since aligning with Hearn's firm. Citing the risks associated with a recent eye injury, Hearn presented White with a blatant transactional proposition. White must completely abandon the ongoing legal complications surrounding Zuffa Boxing's signing of Conor Benn, and in exchange, Hearn would allow the situation regarding Aspinall's contract to be resolved smoothly. Simultaneously, the legal dimension of this promotional war reached a boiling point. The viral Bournemouth press conference took place under the shadow of an aggressive last-minute lawsuit filed in English courts on the literal eve of the fight card. Boxer, a rival promotional entity led by Ben Shalom, sought an emergency court injunction against both Zuffa Boxing and Sky Sports, alleging that headlining fighters remained bound by exclusive contractual obligations to Boxer. Despite the immediate threat of a court shutdown, White chose to ignore the legal warning, ran the entire event as scheduled, and used the post-fight platform to unleash his viral media assault. Furthermore, White used the press conference to create controversy surrounding the highly anticipated undisputed heavyweight boxing negotiations between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, claiming he would serve as the primary promoter. Both Eddie Hearn and Tyson Fury's longtime promoter, Frank Warren, immediately united to completely dismiss White's assertions, publicly labeling White a desperate clout chaser. When reporters asked White to respond to Hearn's aggressive language, the UFC boss retorted, "This Fruit Loop came out and said he's the fucking biggest fight in boxing. Nobody knew who this guy was 4 months ago, and now he's the biggest fight in boxing?" Brule. While White intended for that statement to diminish Hearn's credibility, industry observers noted that it inadvertently validated Hearn's exact thesis. White's constant public focus was actively elevating Hearn's status. Brule net anhemd, Brule net anhemd, Brule net anhemd, Brule net anhemd. An essential question remains: who is actually winning this high-stakes promotional war? Every single time Dana White delivers a passionate tirade against Eddie Hearn, Hearn's public profile expands exponentially. Slowly but surely, Hearn appears to be winning over a large segment of the combat sports fan base due to his charismatic banter and witty responses. A review of popular online communities reveals a significant shift in public sentiment, with many observers praising Hearn for his accessibility and sense of humor. Even critics who find the constant public bickering exhausting admit that Hearn is utilizing the situation beautifully to drive Matchroom's business metrics to record heights in the American market. Hearn is completely independent of White's corporate authority, meaning White possesses absolutely no leverage to terminate Hearn's contracts, revoke his media credentials, or disrupt his broadcasting partnerships. This leaves the ongoing corporate war in a fascinating state of equilibrium. On one side stands White, who flew directly to England to execute a major sporting event right on Hearn's doorstep, only to spend half his press conference talking about a man who wasn't even in the building. Conversely, Hearn has successfully positioned himself as the manager of the UFC's most valuable heavyweight asset, sitting back and watching his personal brand equity skyrocket off the back of White's anger. Meanwhile, the tangible business operations of this conflict continue to move forward rapidly. This involves real athletic careers, massive television distribution rights, active litigation, and hundreds of millions of dollars in corporate capital. The contract standoff regarding Tom Aspinall has the distinct potential to completely paralyze the UFC's heavyweight division. White operates under the firm belief that the organization holds a secure ironclad contract over Aspinall, while Hearn maintains that the fighter is entitled to vastly superior financial terms. White is desperately determined to avoid appearing defeated by Hearn in a public contract negotiation. The resolution is remarkably simple, yet it is a path that White's personality prevents him from taking. He could simply stop speaking about Eddie Hearn. However, choosing silence would mean completely conceding the promotional floor to his rival. In the hyper-competitive landscape of the fight business, going quiet is universally viewed as a total surrender. As a result, the viral videos will continue to surface, the sharp insults will continue to make headlines, and combat sports fans around the world will have a front row seat as two of the most powerful executives in the industry wage a relentless war across every press room, media interview, and corner of the internet they can conquer first. In the conclusion, thank you so much for watching today's breakdown. We truly appreciate your time and support, and we want to know your thoughts on this massive corporate showdown. For our discussion today, who do you believe is genuinely winning this high-stakes promotional war between Dana White and Eddie Hearn from both a business and branding perspective? And how do you foresee the Tom Aspinall contract standoff ultimately resolving itself? Let us know in the comments below.